Previously on Beyond the Pieces.
And that I think we're going down. This is just the beginning of the podcast where we're talking about loneliness. But I mean, we might talk about it in the next one. But I think what might be spoken about, is where do you get the motivation to fight? So what's your why, and how can you find one that motivates you enough to when it gets hard, the times that most people quit, what's your why? Is like, we break it down piece by piece because there's a piece that you can take. For everyone here that's watching this, there is a different piece to take. And
Piece by piece.
piece by piece, man.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Pieces, where we're your hosts,
Xavi.
and I'm Law. In this episode, we'll be discussing how to find your motivation in life. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe so you can catch us every Thursday. And don't forget to leave a comment because we will read your comments. Now let's get into the video. So, Xavi, you were in loneliness, right? You had your repentance, as you said in episode 1. But what was your motivation, right? Like, where did you find your motivation?
That I would say that's kind of a loaded question. But I found my motivation in things that I enjoyed doing and things that made me feel good. So
What do you
for
mean?
me, yeah, for me, like things that made me feel good. That could have been whether it was an action or a person, or when I say a person, I'm talking about like family. That was a big motivation for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even when I was going through difficult times, that was hard to keep me going too. Like I probably needed to place my motivation in something more geared towards me. Because what happens, something happens to my family. Am I just not going to have any motivation for the rest of my life? So it was kind of just like, it was kind of, I needed to gear it towards, it's more than just one area is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, for me, I found motivation in everything that made me feel good, everything that gave me the happy, fun feeling in my stomach, the peaceful feeling. So sports did, certain classes did, that I never thought I would have that enjoyment in, even just the feeling of going to school was enough motivation for me. Wanting to be a man, things like that, and we could
So
definitely go into depth though.
you said wanting to be a man. So how
Yeah,
did you define a man, right? Because you can have, you can be lonely, and you have this motivation that, okay, I don't want to be lonely. All I gotta do, I just gotta be a man, right?
right.
So how did you see that? Like, what did that come with?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in my dad. I think lots of people have that similar feeling of wanting to be like their father or even better than their dad. My case was a little bit of both.
Competitive much?
Yeah, just a little competitive.
A little bit, right,
But
right.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's what I would say is just, what I saw as a man was a provider, someone that could be relied on. It wasn't until later on that I realized that a man is not someone that just tries to, tough out everything alone, doesn't talk to anybody. The older I got, the more my family became accustomed also to counseling, and we're very strong supporters of counseling, especially in other people. My dad, uh, just looking at him, I was his capability of being able to talk out his emotions and talk to his family and just be vulnerable to us. That's what
Mm.
showed me, what a man was. And so because of that, I've wanted to be a man, and basically a man in that image. So I mean, that's all for me though. What about you, man? Where do you find motivation?
I look to my family a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
cause I look at, there's some of my family members I have, they may not they may not have the physical capabilities to provide for themselves in the future, right? So I see it as my responsibility, knowing better, to, okay, not only provide for me, but be able to provide for them even if I'm not here,
Right.
right? And so being lonely and then having that realization of this ain't about you right now. Like, it's not about you right now. You got to get up, right? You got to
Yeah.
get up. You got to go figure out something. And you got to make it work. It has to work. It has to work. There is no other, there's no plan B, no plan C, D. No, there's only plan A has to work. And so, um, coming to that realization, whenever I get really, really tired and I don't feel like doing something, I think
Yeah.
about those select family members. And I'm like, so you cool with just giving up on them today? Like, you cool with that?
Mm.
And I know that I can't sit with that feeling at the end of the day and be like, I gave up on them today,
Yeah.
right? Not knowing if I'm gonna get it tomorrow. And that was the whole point of today,
Right.
right? And so having that fire, it's like, so what? We tired. Everybody tired,
Yeah.
you know. You know. And what's your point? That's a cute little complaint you made. See management, you know. Everybody tired. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. One foot in front of the other. I'm not saying you gotta do a mile at a time. No, one step at a time. One step at a time. Piece by piece. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
Cause
And
rush my bad, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Rushing the process, you only delay it.
Mm.
Right? Trying to get
Mm.
the fool's gold, the quick magic. That's black magic. It's voodoo.
Mm.
Whenever you go through the process, they can't take that from you. But you got to be willing to go through the process.
And that's the process. And I think, and back to your question, basically is like, you don't want to look at the whole mountain of it and think, I got to chew all of that. I got to take all of that tonight. I got to do all that right now. It's just keep chipping. Just keep chipping at what it is, you know?
One
And
piece at
I
a
keep
time.
one piece, bro, one piece at a time, you know, like
Piece by piece, dog. I promise I'm not
easier
trying to do
said
that on
than
purpose.
done.
I promise I'm not.
Easier, I mean, obviously it's easier said than done, but that's what you have to do. Like, you know, you can't just, you're not going to get to point A to point B just like that every single time. Sometimes it's going to take a minute.
And I look at too, I do look at the analogy of sports, and they're like,
Mhm.
we think of these greats as greats, but like when you go look at their numbers, it's not much better than everybody else, right?
Mhm.
So like if everybody else shooting 40%, Jordan shooting 45, right? So they both missing over half their shots, but he just
Right.
slightly better. So it's like I think when, especially when it comes to working out, when people look at, oh, new year, new me, right? Because we're going into the new year, new season, new goals, right?
Right.
People are going to go back to the gym, and as soon as
Yeah.
they start missing days, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I just suck," or "I'm gonna get back," or da. Right? You come up with all these excuses. It's okay, right? There are 365 days a year.
Right.
If you miss 65 days of the gym that whole year, you still went 300 days. Right?
Yeah.
So you still went way more than you didn't. But we beat
Yeah.
ourselves up if we miss a week or we miss 2 weeks. And so what happens is they go hard in January. February comes, they fall off. So they just
Yeah.
decide to quit until next year.
Right.
Instead of,
Yeah.
okay, February, I didn't really stay disciplined. I'm going to start over in March.
Mhm.
Right? And then get March through, and then April, and then fall off in
Yeah.
May. Right? But
Yeah.
you're making more progress than you are if you just had sat and done nothing. Right?
Right.
But it's piece by piece,
Yeah.
chip by chip. You can't beat yourself up for every loss. You just
Right.
can't. You just gotta learn from them and swallow them. Like, it is what it is.
Or keep on, or then turn into all right, next week I'm gonna start. Next
Right.
week comes. All
Monday,
right, but
Monday,
okay,
on
next
Monday,
next week I'm gonna do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Monday, I'll do it on Monday. Oh, I'll do it on Tuesday.
and I tell you
You know
what,
what I mean?
it feels like it feel like it's even more binding when you go, okay, so I'm gonna start on May 20th, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 'Cause now you're like, you got an exact day. Like, this is not on
Mm-hmm.
Monday, right? We ain't, because on Monday can be any Monday.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when you give it that specific date, it's like, nah, when that date come, especially if you say it around somebody and they hold your feet to the fire, right?
Hmm.
Nah, what happened? You said today for sure, rain, sleet, or snow, you was gonna go. Like, nah.
You know
Me,
what? There's something that I really don't like that what people do is like they'll set a goal, and I say people, I'm sure I've done it as well. But when people will set a goal, they'll be like, all right, so this day they'll give themselves like a deadline. All right, this day I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna do this. But then they think that because their goal was like so good that they can almost counter everything. They can counter their goal for that whole week up until that day. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's like like all right, well, I'm gonna start eating good on Monday, and it's like Thursday, and then so Thursday to Monday, they're like, well, I'm gonna eat whatever I want because on Monday, on Monday I'm gonna go crazy. But then Monday happens, and you didn't do it. So it's kind of like, wow, dude, like you, if anything, you backtrack even more from your
Correct.
goal. You know what I mean?
You're
So
further behind now. Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
don't know. That's something that I try not to do myself, but I really it is kind of like, man, like yo. And then it's like, how, okay, well, so what you're gonna do is you are going to, because I know I said earlier, you wanna you are learning to trust yourself.
right.
Well, how can you trust that you're gonna start on Monday if you're building habits up to Monday? You know what I mean?
I think it come down to who you are as a person, right?
Mm,
So if you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna do this, and when you tell yourself you're gonna do something, if you actually do it, then
right,
you're like, okay, yeah, I can eat however I want to eat because I already told myself I'm gonna start on Monday. But if you
right,
one of them, you tell yourself all the time that you're gonna do stuff and you don't do it, it just sounds like a lie. So you don't even believe you when you say it,
right,
right? And unfortunately, you're the only person who's heard every lie that you've ever told.
right.
So you gotta start telling yourself the truth. Don't say stuff that you don't plan to follow up with. So
Yeah,
what you can start with is I am going to brush my teeth in the morning, right?
yeah,
You do that consistently, so you start to see what it feel like and sound like when you tell yourself the truth, right?
yeah,
And from
yeah.
there it just slowly builds, but it's step by step. And I think, like we said, people just trying to tackle too much at one time. What you think?
I mean, that just goes straight into my next question. Is like, how do you measure the success then? How do you measure success in your personal journey, and how does that impact your drive?
It's the way you think. If you
Mm,
cause think about it, if you 13 and you still think like a 3-year old, how successful have you been?
mm,
Right? So if you are I'm 25. So I'm 25. If I'm thinking like I was thinking at 21, how much progress have I made? So it's like, okay, now same situation. If you were put right back in that same situation, how do you react? Because with time should come experience, but experience only brings wisdom if you learn from the experience, right? So if me and you get in a fight and we fight 100 times, on the 100th time we fight, it should be a closer fight than it was the very first time, right? Because I've learned
mm,
your tendencies, I've learned your speed, I've learned things that I now have
mm.
in my toolbox, right?
Yeah,
So to measure your success is how do I think now versus how I thought then? Is the thinking I have now more productive than the thinking I had then? And if the answer is no, you need to figure out, okay, well, how can I grow? Right? Because that's going to determine your success, right? And as far as that impacting your drive, all of a sudden, for me, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, all of a sudden, money don't mean nothing to you no more. Cause you realize like it's just a representation. It's just a tool, right? Like it
mm,
don't mean nothing. If I have $100, let's say your favorite sibling or your favorite family member, whatever. I say
yeah,
I'm gonna give you $100 for your favorite family member. That's not
yeah.
enough, right? Because your
Right,
family member means more to you than $100 bill. right? So by defining your success as you getting better, you realize it's not the monetary gain that defines if you're growing as a person mentally or not.
Right.
What defines your success is how are you thinking versus how are you thinking. If you're thinking the same way today as you were yesterday, you're gonna get the same results today that you got yesterday.
Yeah.
So the reason you'll make more money is
Mhm.
because you change the input, the output has to change. But
Right.
if you keep the same input, you're gonna get the same output. So success, what's your bar of success? Getting better or just not getting worse?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Right. But that's fine too. Like, what is your success? Because that's another thing what people will do is compare it with other people.
Right.
Like,
And
all
so
right,
it's
well,
like,
they do much better than me.
why would you do that? Right? Are
Mm.
you more you than they are them?
Hmm.
That and I think when you ask that question, it's more like you if you're being who you are to the
Mm.
utmost, 100% you, and
Right.
that person over there has more material possessions than you, but
Yeah.
they're only 80% of themselves.
Yeah.
I ask to you the question, who do you think is more peaceful?
Mm. That's what really matters, right?
So what's the price of peace to you?
Hmm.
Right? Are you
That's good.
okay with being 100% yourself and whatever come with it? And knowing
Right.
that and that's there's a quote. It says, would you rather be at peace with yourself and at war with the world, or at war with the world and at peace with yourself? Right? So it's like you gotta pick your fight.
Right.
And when you're at peace with yourself, you may run into a war with the world, but you'll be
Mm.
okay with whatever happens because you found peace.
And just sparked another thought, man, because we've been there before, especially when you're in depression or lonely. You feel that sometimes you're not almost like you're not worthy of it. You don't deserve peace. What you deserve, everything that you've gotten that you feel has brought you down is what you deserve. So like you're motivated, oh okay, well I want to be uh I don't know, man. It could be anything in life. Like I want to be the president, right? But
Hmm.
then you decide, all right, well, to be the president, I need to be elected. All right, cool. Well, people say like uh an election happens, you weren't voted for president, but you still want to be a president. But you let the fact that you failed just be like, all right, well, that was it. So I deserve that. So then you keep on losing in other things, and all you basically you're taking almost like you're taking pride in your
You,
failures.
you punishing
You know,
yourself.
like not in a good way either. Like, and I say taking pride, like you're relishing in it. You're like, yeah, I failed. Okay, that's nothing new. And then you failed again. Oh, well, maybe I just can't. And you start training yourself. Like, man, well, I'm not capable of success. I don't know, man. I've been there, but I also know that there are people here that are well, but that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, this is my life. This is what I'm gonna get. I don't see any other possibility. And if you're that person, you're sitting in that chair thinking that's couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
And
You never know who you're gonna be. Never say who you're gonna be. Never say who you're not gonna be. All right.
I I have this I am God fearing. So I
Mhm.
do believe that we were put here for a reason, and a reason bigger than we could ever imagine. And based off of that itself has gotten me through those moments of questioning, am I really meant for anything? Am I really meant to be alive? Am I really meant to be a doctor, an attorney? Am I really meant to be where I'm at right now? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Like that it's just the driving question of am I fulfilling my purpose has also been the motivation for me because I what I don't like is not having an answer. That could just be me, you know what I mean? So if that's the case, I have to, you have to seek it. And if you feel like and it's not going to happen alone. And I mean, we already said that. It's not going to happen if you're sitting alone. And it's
Right.
not going to happen for those of us who are surrounding themselves by people who don't want to go anywhere in life. If you are surrounding yourself and you know that the group you're hanging out with are all people who have the same mindset of life sucks,
It's
well,
the reason the Flintstones got in the car and used foot power, bro. If them the people you riding with, that's who you riding with. But
right,
like the Jetsons was on a different type of time. And I'm
dude.
showing my age a little bit here, but that's just what it is, you know?
Right. So
Jetsons
that's another
flying
thing. I mean,
around. No cover a car. The Flintstones, they get tired of running, they get in the car and they keep running. Like,
yes, sir. Yes,
are
sir.
you
So
gonna
just
hop in the
realize
car to
that
keep
too.
running, or do you wanna think differently and perhaps live in a world like the Jetsons?
Right.
It's the way you think about it, your perspective. You know,
Yeah, man.
you got to be able to keep fighting. You got to be able to keep fighting, and you got to ask why. Like you said, why do you need an answer for what you want to be? Because I like answers. Like I know exactly why I need an answer. I like having a reply. You know,
Yeah.
so
Even if it's something I don't want to hear. You know what I mean? The fact that I don't, because, and or I know we said this as well. Man, we talk a lot, bro.
we do.
But dude, the more you find out, the less you know. You know what I'm
Facts,
saying? Or like the more you find out, the more questions you have. So
facts.
you're gonna find an answer. You're gonna be like, all right, well, this is it. This is what I want to do. Imagine, okay, so say we're starting on a blank screen, right? Okay, I decide that I want to be a fireman. Cool. I found out what I want. I want to be a fireman. All right, but how do I do it? Okay, I got to do this, this, and this. How much is that going to cost? Oh, it's going to cost this much. How much am I going to have to work to save up this money? Dude, how many questions are you going to have? That's
Every
what life, that's what it is.
because you got to keep finding more detail. It's like at first you get a red screen, right?
Mm.
And then it's like, well, why is the screen red? And then it zooms out and it's Clifford, right? It's like, oh, it's Clifford the red dog, right? And then it zooms out again. It's like, well, Clifford lives here. And then it zooms out again. It's like, this is the network Clifford was on, right? And it just keeps going, bro. And it's like, well, these are
Yeah,
questions I didn't even think to ask, right? And you
right.
go all the way back to like the animation process and the first actual drawings and stuff, right? So it's like you always have one. You never even thought about the drawings while you were
Yeah,
watching Clifford, right?
yeah,
But it's not until you think to ask more questions that you're like, where does that come from? Well, where does that come from? Well, where did that come from then? Right? And it's just it keeps going and going and going. And so it's a never like you said, it's a never ending journey. The more you learn, the more you realize I don't know. Like so I like watching the Boondocks, right? And in there they
okay,
say there are known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. Things we don't know, we don't know. And I was like,
mm,
that's the scariest thing ever is unknown unknowns, right? Because
right,
if I know I don't know something, I can go learn it. If I know I
yeah,
know something, I know it. But if I don't know something, I'm at the mercy of somebody telling me, yo, you know this work like this?
mm,
And that's what I mean by connections. Right? The more
right,
connections you have, the more likely you are to run into somebody who's like, yo, you know this work like this?
mm,
And then you're like, for
yeah,
real?
yeah,
Next thing you know, you're doing, and you don't have that problem no more. Somebody solved your problem simply because you started a conversation. So for those people watching, if you having a hard time starting a conversation, if you in line at Starbucks or something, ask them, what type of coffee you getting? I think like this is my first time. I'm not used to this. And watch, cause boy, people in line they love to tell you about their recommendations. Even
Get it this
McDonald's,
way.
McDonald's, yeah, I'm gonna get the hot and spicy add Big Mac sauce and slice of cheese. Like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So where you from? And boom, conversation going.
yeah,
Now y'all might
I
share a
think,
meal together, or y'all might share a beverage together. Next thing you know,
yeah,
y'all might exchange phone numbers, or y'all see each other somewhere else, and it's a
yeah,
familiar face.
right. And I think that, to kind of sum up, really, I think the big aspect of it is like finding your motivation is be curious to it. What does curiosity look like? If you're curious about your motivation, it's gonna have to. You're gonna have to ask a question. You're gonna have to go out and you're gonna have to try things. You are. You're gonna have to go out and try things. See, okay, that felt good. That felt really good. I like that. I want that feeling that I
Again,
had when I went through that experience. I want that again. You know what I mean? So, and mind you, again, catered towards a productive, a
lifestyle.
productive, yeah, a productive lifestyle, a lifestyle that you know is going to benefit you, but also just, and I think it has to be bigger than just yourself. It can't. I think that's what it. I mean, at the end of the day, your actions, your decisions are going to affect someone else. So really think about it in that aspect of, okay, what can I do? Because I mean, I think that's really what I think that
It,
that whole thing that people grow up of saying, oh, I don't care what other people think. Yeah, you do.
you do, and until you come to the honesty of admitting that you care, you cannot
Yeah,
stop caring,
yeah, you do.
right? And so it's like, be honest, you care.
Right,
Otherwise, you wouldn't. It wouldn't matter to you that you don't have the nicest whatever.
right,
You know, so it does matter. It does. You do care. You do
right.
care,
And you care about what you have. You
and
care
it's
about your
okay.
output on the world. It is okay.
It
You
is
care about
okay.
what you can do. You care about what you can do for the world. It's not just. It's not like that. It is not you live and you die. It's not. There's so much more meaning to it. There's so much meaning to you as a person.
If this was
So
your
be
last 24, would people even remember you? And I don't mean like, oh, you got the Michael Jackson funeral where it's all on TV and it's packed out. No, no. I mean, in your community,
yeah,
if this was your last 24, if you closed your eyes and they didn't open,
right,
would your community say, we lost one today? Or would you be just another person?
right.
Right? And how do you become the person where it's like, we lost one today? We lost one
Mm,
of our own, of our community today, right?
right.
By helping them.
I think that's by building that connection.
You got to
And you
connect.
have to.
Go play basketball. Go do the community baseball games. Pick up trash. Like, go knock on
Right,
doors. Go speak to people. You know, be
right.
a person.
Take those opportunities. You said, I mean, I think college is like the one of the biggest uh opportunities for an opportunity. Like there's
Yeah.
so many things that you could find out about yourself. So many classes you can take, so many events you could be a part of. Um, there's so much. Like just take advantage of and if you're not in college, seek someone who does have something for you. You know what I mean? Like be be curious, be ambitious. That's what being ambitious is. Being ambitious is not just like, oh well, he does a lot of things. No, being ambitious is the type of person that's like, oh, that's neat. I want to go do it. Oh, that's cool. I want to go do that. That's what it is. Like be someone who is just like
Fearless.
like and then that's easier said than done to be
Right.
fearless.
Right.
It is, but
But
you I
it's more
mean,
so don't you don't know you don't like it until you try it. Right. And
right.
that I say that with responsibility intended. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't know what type of food you like until you try that type of food, right?
Right.
Oh, I don't like blah blah. How do you know if you've never had it?
Right.
Like how would you know? So go try it. I don't like dance classes. Have you ever been to one?
Right.
I don't like poetry. Have you ever been to an open mic? I don't
Right.
like plays. Have you ever been to a theater? I don't like
Yep.
opera. Have you ever listened to it?
Right.
It's how would you know if you or is that just the social norm and you've accepted it?
Mm-hmm.
Go try it. And then what like if you go to the opera and you listen and you don't like it, you now have evidence that you do not like opera. And that is okay,
Right.
right? But if you never try it, it's just, well, I thought I wouldn't like it if I ever went, so I didn't go.
Right.
What?
And don't take the and even if you do something, right? And you were so motivated and you were even hopeful You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are like, you'll do something and you're like, man, I hope this is it. I hope this is the one. I hope this is my thing. You know what I mean? And then you do it, you're like, oh dang, it's like that's not my thing. Don't fall back into like, oh well,
Go find a
see,
new thing to try. Yeah.
I knew it. Let that failure give you clarity. The value of failing is so imperative. It's so imperative, and it sucks. It sucks. It's gonna suck. Some of our failures are really gonna feel like a slap. 100%. I've been there.
Well, you
But
like that hurt it, didn't it?
dude, that's what makes the success feel so much
Yeah.
sweeter. It's because like I found it. I found it. I've cried, dude. Like I've cried to find something that I'm good at. I've cried to find something to just drive towards. You know what I mean?
Like,
So
this is my thing. This is what I'm good
right.
at.
If you've ever cried about not having motivation, or if you've ever cried about not having like your thing, there is something behind that is valid. You didn't just cry for no reason. You know what I mean? If it
Correct.
if it caused tears, it's because there was there was something about it that you could not hold back. You know what I mean? So
Thanks.
once you get from that point to that point, and even if you make a step, it makes all the little successes feel so good because it's like, dang man, like I remember when I wasn't. I'm in that situation now.
Oh, bro,
I
you
remember,
hit a nerve on that one. Like, I remember when, boy.
dude,
These days
dude,
wasn't always sunshine. But
man,
we thankful for the sunshine now that we are grateful of the warmth it brings, right? But
absolutely, and
when you got
recognize the
too much sunshine, you're like, oh, it's hot. Like, okay, here comes some rain, some clouds on the way. You know, so you gotta be
yeah,
grateful for what you have, and you'll find your motivation, right? Because you'll
yeah,
find your peace. You'll find what you're good at. Because you'll just be you, right?
right.
So
You found it your way. You found it on your terms, and yeah, you might have been a little slower to finding your thing than someone else was to theirs, and
you
that's
racing
okay.
you.
Yeah, just realize it wasn't a everyone's not running your race, so you know what I mean. Like,
Stay in your lane.
and if you've heard it before, we're gonna say it again. Like, run your own race. It is because that's exactly what it is. It's your own race. You start realizing you're running someone else's race. Yeah, you're gonna fall a lot more times than you need to. So yeah, man. Well, with that, I'm Xavi. This is Law. This was Beyond the Pieces. Thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you on the next video. Peace.